Goeiedag! Good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. There's a lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you. I know that life outside is so hard. There's a lot of things that can tear you apart. I know the road sometimes feel lonely, but remember you're not the one and only. There's always someone there to help you, a helping hand to pull you through. There's only one thing you should do: take my hand and join the Love and Life crew. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then they love and life guide you.
Goeienaand! Good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And tonight we have a fantastic combination of coverage. We have Joost Strydom, head of the Iranian movement, and of course we all know about that little town called Orania. We're going to be unpacking that tonight. And it's a mystical little town on the banks of the Orange River in the Northern Cape. Let me show you what it looks like. It's absolutely gorgeous. Here we go.
Welcome to Orania, South Africa's only pure white town founded by Afrikaners for Afrikaners, the descendants of Dutch settlers who used to run the country under apartheid. Orania was built in the Northern Cape in 1991, just after the release of Nelson Mandela. While outsiders view it as a racist concept, people here say they just want the freedom to live according to their own cultural norms.
We would like to redefine our structures in such a way that we decide on our own affairs and in that sense experience ourselves as being free, whilst at the same moment be in peace with everybody around us.
1,000 people live in Irania and they try to be as self-sufficient as possible. They have their own money as well as their own flag. Orania is built on privately owned land, which belongs to the Vleitiskrol Block company. Homeowners can become shareholders of the company, as well as members of the council, to decide on how their town should be run.
We all, as directors, come in. We are owners of land in Orania, and we are elected on a yearly basis, and then we conduct the same functions as any municipality.
Orania's population is growing at 9% a year. It attracts Afrikaners who feel left out in the new South Africa and who are scared of the country's high crime rates. Kobus Jonk arrived a year ago with his family after passing an interview in front of a committee of residents. He's happy to run his own farm here, but happier still that he doesn't have to worry about crime.
You know, we don't lock our cars at night here. We don't lock our house. If you look at our front door there, the key is in the front door. So you open it and you walk in whenever you want to do it.
Orania is protected by South Africa's constitution, which guarantees the right of self-determination. But residents here are thinking big, their next goal, the creation of an Afrikaner republic.
Okay, that gives you a bit of an insight into Irania. And of course, when I get Joost up, we'll be talking about its background and all that sort of stuff. But at 8:30 p.m. or whenever Ramaphosa decides to come on, we will cross live to hear what he has to say. And then I'm going to ask Joost to analyze what he said. So we got a real double header for you tonight, guys. So without any further ado, let me get our guest on. Here we go. Hi, Joost.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Excellent. How was your day?
Oh, busy, thank you. And yours?
Great, thank you. We've got several hundred people watching the live stream at the moment. Do you just want to give them a wave and say hi?
Hi, guys. Thank you for everybody watching, and I'm looking forward to speak to you.
Now, tell us what your position is at Aronia, Joost.
Scott, thank you. Yes, I'm currently acting as the head of the Orania movement. The Orania movement is the idea movement behind Orania. It's the ideological drive behind Orania to a large extent. And it's originated from Afstig, which is the Afrikaner Vryheidsstichting, which started in the 80s and is currently fulfilling the role of not only liaising with everybody else, everybody outside Orania, but also spreading the Orania idea and showing people what we are about, liaising with the media, and also, very importantly, liaising with our other Afrikaners in South Africa to show them that we do have an alternative.
Right. Now talking about the media, they always seem to bring in a certain word when they talk about Irania. Well, believe me, we're not going to be doing that tonight. You know, I think Irania is a splendid idea, and I think it's a fantastic little town. I mean, what other town in South Africa is anywhere near Irania when you look at service delivery?
No, Scott, I think we do have a lot of things that we are doing very well on. We do have a lot of things in Irania that can be bettered, and that can also be called out and can be brought to a higher standard. We're also always striving to and continue to strive to higher standards and doing things better in every way that we can. But Orania's municipality is also distincted from other municipalities in South Africa in the terms that it's very unique. It's a very locally run municipality. And when I say that, I mean that Orania is the only municipality of its kind in the entire South Africa. And that's a bit later, more on, but it follows from a court case that we had in 2000 about the status of Orania. I'll tell you a bit more about that later.
Fantastic. Now, talking about Irania, how was the vision of Irania born? What happened? How did it happen?
Interestingly enough, Scott, a lot of people don't know or realize that the Orania idea is actually much older than the town itself. The Orania, the idea, the ideology behind Orania actually originates from the 1970s, where some people said, listen, it's inevitable what's going to happen in South Africa. And then they could see that and understand that because they've been watching our neighbors to the north, countries that went through the process of decolonization, went into democratically run countries where everybody had a vote, and they saw that none of the other countries in Africa actually gave much sympathy to the white people living there. And to a large extent, through the 60s, 70s, we saw a lot of changes in Africa, in the entirety of Africa. And the people that was involved with the organizations such as AFSTIG, such as the Afrikaner Vrystelling, now the Orania movement or the Orania Beweging, they saw that South Africa is going to follow the same way. I mean, it's no surprise, but even in the 70s, people started realizing that change is coming, big change is coming, and we need to think past the change that is actually going to affect us, and we need to think of a future for ourselves, for Afrikaners, because Afrikaners do have a lot of things that is not in our favor. We were in power, we are a small minority, we are easily identifiable, and we are not in power anymore. Maybe the most important thing of all, and that made us not very favorable people in South Africa. And we heard the things that were discussed in that time, also into the 90s, and we saw that the only chance for Afrikaners to survive as a nation is if we can create a place where we own the land ourselves, when we have our own institutions, and we do not need to trust the state to deliver certain services for us. We don't need to trust the state to be friendly towards us on a economic level in terms of things that we see now like BEE and thus forth. And we need to be able to be dependent on our own labor. So that ideology behind Orania started already in say the 70s. It got a lot of momentum with the conservative politics rising up in say the 80s, and it only got real traction in the early 90s, where we actually got so far as to buy a town. The town, I can say a bit more now on, but the important thing is the infrastructure. Some of the infrastructure were already here. It was a town that was created by the Department of Water Affairs, still under the Verwoerd regime, in order to facilitate the build of dams and channels and so on to develop agriculture in the Northern Cape. So the town was already here, and well, to be honest, it was abandoned and nobody was interested in it. And so we decided we are going to raise the funds to buy the first baby step. But well, as Armstrong put it, it was a very small step, but it was also a big leap for Afrikaners, because it was a first step towards growing self-determination. And that was to just own a town and have a place where we can do your own thing, and you can live on your own standards and look after yourself.
Right. Well, I've got to say that I don't think this ANC government, when it comes to service delivery or anything else, could deliver a pizza, let alone, service delivery. Now, how easy is it to replicate the Irania vision, or the Irania town around South Africa with other communities? Have you got like a map that people can actually, or plan that people can follow to actually do that?
We do have that plan, but to be quite frank with you, Scott, it's not that easy. It's not easy. It is actually hard. And it's hard because you have to give up a lot of things that the state is offering you in terms of comfort. And you have to embrace this comfort. You have to embrace, doing your own labor. You have to embrace, and the struggle is a very charged word in South Africa, but it is what it is. It's a struggle. You have to embrace that struggle for freedom to a large extent, because right. Without the hardships that comes with these things, and without the distinctive decision that you have to make that you want this, it's not that easy. But once you've made this decision, you're never looking back. Let me promise you that, Scott. It's once you made the decision that freedom is more important to you than comfort or security or things like that, it really grows on you. So the idea behind Orania is quite simple. As I said, it's own your own piece of land, have your own institutions. And when we speak about institutions, it's everything from your banks, your schools, your religious communities, or your churches, care for the poor people in your community, social care, security, everything that you have to do for your citizens, its own institutions. Then the last and the hard one is own labor. In South Africa, there's cheap labor available, and that made it possible for a lot of people to grow big businesses and so on. But the problem with that is if you use people for their labor, they also get a say in your elections. They can also vote and so on and so forth. So if you want to be really free, doing your own labor is quite important. And we're seeing this more and more now. It's actually becoming quite mainstream. I know that you also did an interview with Helping Hand earlier this week or last week, where we saw that the government is actually applying BEE policies to food distribution and saving businesses as well. And with that reality in mind, people are getting quite fed up, and they actually want to focus more on only employing Afrikaners and so on, because they said the state's not helping them. We need to empower them with work and business. Yeah.
Right. Now, before we talk about or ask you the next question, just for everybody watching on the side chat and those who are just watching the live stream, as soon as Ramaphosa goes live, we will be crossing to Ramaphosa. And after he's finished speaking, I'll be talking to Joost and ask him to analyze what he said and what his views are and some of the comments he makes. Now, okay, you mentioned the issue of labor and obviously the persecution the white community are going through in South Africa. What is the situation when it comes to... I have so many people who contact me and they say, Scott, please help me because I can't get any work, I'm starving, I'm this, I'm that and the other, and I feel helpless, there's nothing I can do. Do you have a need for people who are good and fit and decent people who are white, who are unemployed because of black economic empowerment? Do you have a place for them to go and work on farms or something like that at Orania?
Well, yes, Scott, we value workers very much. We value people who put the effort in to help create help make the dream that we have a reality. We value them very much. They're very important, and they're also very scarce in Iranian because there's a lot of work to be doing in an economy that's growing with between 10 and 15% every year. It's quite important to have people doing jobs and taking on new opportunities. So we want people that is ready to embrace the Orania idea, that is ready to put in their share, and it's hard work living here, but there's opportunities for people. We try to empower people with opportunities. We try to empower Afrikaners by making sure that they have jobs and so on. But they also bring a responsibility to the table. They bring the responsibility to use their skills to the best interest of the town, but also to sharpen their skills and learn new skills and do new things in order to economically survive as well. So yes, there's a major it's a employees market at this stage. There's definitely a need for people who want to bring their skill set to Irania, but you must also be able to take responsibility for yourself and create your own future.
Right. Now, for those watching, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. We have updates every single day on the Loving Life channels. There are 2 of them. Now, sorry, getting back to you. What is the difference between the Irania movement and Aronia, the town? I think people get very confused about this. Can you actually just spell out exactly what the 2 are?
Yeah, I would love to do that, Scott. It's a very simple difference. Orania movement is Orania the idea. Orania, the physical town, is Orania the reality. It's what we have created this far. And to quote Professor Karel Boshoff, who was one of the founders of Orania, he said shortly before his death, in a video interview, they asked him what was his biggest regret. and he said that that we only got this far, that we are not free yet, and we haven't completed the project yet. We're still small. And the next question was, what is the thing that you're most excited about, or what is the biggest pride of your life? And he said that we got this far. We got this far. We created something. We created a reality. And I think the important thing there is the Orania movement drives this ideology. We market it to people, we liaise with people, and so on. But Orania, the reality, is a monument. It's a monument of what Afrikaners can achieve if we put the effort in. It's a monument of what Afrikaners want to achieve. It's a monument of our labor and ingenuity and making plans and being creative. And without any funds from the state in terms of our municipality, we still managed to grow. We still managed to put more services in and put out more land for people to buy up and live and service that with the basic services in terms of water, electricity, roads, plumbing, and so on. So I think Orania, the reality is a monument but it's not the final product. It's very important to understand. It is just the beginning. It's just a stepping stone. We put the cornerstone in, and now it's time for people to come and join the cause and come and help build the future of Afrikaners.
Okay, now that's a very interesting comment you just made, because we've been talking really again about white labor. Now, I work with several charities here in South Africa who are delivering food parcels to impoverished whites who are starving in camps and stuff like that. Is it possible that I could talk to them and say, if you come across a family who are, they're dying to work hard and they're the right sort of people, can we put them in touch with you to actually look at having a new start in Arania?
Yes, definitely, Scott. Definitely, keeping in mind that Orania is not a social project. It's to empower people. To empower people, and we empower people by giving them an opportunity. A lot of people ask us, do you have a house for me? Do you have work for me? Can you help me with this and this? And I understand it. My heart is bleeding for them, because Afrikaners are going through a terrible, terrible time. Not only with this corona pandemic and the crisis, economic crisis surrounding it, and so on. Before that, long before that, Afrikaners they've been hurting. Economically, we are discriminated against. We are discriminated against on academic level, politically, and so on. So we've been hit hard, but Orania cannot afford to be a social project. What it is, a project. What it is it can give people a stepping stone. So yes, welcome those people, invite them here, help them to find opportunities in Orania. We would love to see more Afrikaners moving here, and that's the entire goal. But they need to be able to come and also give their labor to the town and do their part for the town as well. Because we don't have government funds and so on, we don't have the funds to sustain people. People need to sustain themselves, but we do have a few things. One of those things are the Helpende Hand. Orania Beweging has got not Helpende Hand, the Helpsaam Fonds. It's a fund, the Orania movement's fund for empowering people. And our motto or way of doing was never to, for example, give people free housing or give them food parcels or so on. Our way was always to empower people. What we do is we make the institutions strong that make people strong. We make sure people get decent training in terms of trades, which they can then plow back into the community and start their own businesses. And we've been seeing the success of investing in people. So if you come to Irani and you've got a skill that you can come and do here, or you're willing to work on a construction site or whatnot, even if you're not a qualified construction person, builder or plumber or whatever, if you are willing to come here and you are willing to work hard, there might go opportunities open for you for further training to qualify, to get your qualification and maybe start your own business. We want to give people that opportunities. But it's not a handout. It's not a free-for-all. It's not a social project. It is to give people opportunities. So come and do your part, and we will definitely do our part to empower you doing that as well.
Fantastic. Now, Bruce has asked a very relevant question, so I'm going to raise it now. I normally raise the questions from the side chat much later. But he said, please ask Joost how they define Afrikaner. What if an English person is married to an Afrikaans person? Can they live in Orania?
Yeah. Well, Scott, that's a question that we get a lot of times because obviously the media is all up about it. They ask us to prove what an Afrikaner is. We have a few basic specifications that a person needs to follow in order to come and live here. But we are not going to put you through all kinds of tests in order to see if you're a real or genuine Afrikaner from the right bloodline and qualifies. For example, people that wants to come and live here need to have a fluent conversation in Afrikaans, but that's non-negotiable. They have to voluntarily align themselves with the goals of Orania, with the fact that it's an Afrikaner empowerment project. And also we are a Christian town, so Christian faith is not regarding denomination. People are free to practice their Christian faith as they see fit in terms of denomination, but we're a Christian Afrikaner community. So we want people to come here and identify themselves as Afrikaners. We are not going to force them to be this and this and this and that. People know what they want to identify with, and you can apply for citizenship in Orania if you can speak, have a fluent conversation Afrikaans, if you're Christian and so on. We're not going to try and define Afrikanership for you, but you know if you are feeling welcome in the culture of the town, and if you are if you identify with the specific constitution of Orania and the empowerment of Afrikaners.
Right. Now, it's getting close to when Ramaphosa is supposed to come on, so just to confirm, what will happen is that when he does come on, we'll switch to Ramaphosa, and then after he's gone off, I'll Skype you back and we'll continue with the conversation and analyze what he has had to say as well. Now, look, I've seen so many videos of Irania, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, it looks like a great little town. Tell me, what is life like in Irania?
Interesting. Is I think the first word that comes to mind, Scott. It's an interesting place. I've often said that the pioneers who started Irania, it's quite radical people. It's not radical people in terms of what we normally associate with the word radical. It's radical people in terms that they changed their way of thinking, and they're thinking on a new way, and they are embracing new and they're actually innovating. That's maybe a good word. But also there's a lot of excitement in the air, especially now. Also, we can speak a bit more about the COVID and the effects that it has on South Africa and Orania as well. But there's an energy in the air because I think we've been hit to the floor in the rest of South Africa. We are not very popular people in the rest of South Africa, and in Orania there's excitement because once again Afrikaners are believing it's okay to be in your own team, to do the things that you would like to do, and we're working towards something. I think that's one of the greatest gifts that you can give to a person, is to give them the opportunity to work towards a goal that they fully embrace. And that's what it's like in Orania. People are innovating. There's an energy that's positive in terms of ideas. We're always looking for political space to put up our standpoints to everybody that wants to listen. To be honest, we are constantly getting journalists coming here. We're constantly getting tourists coming here, and we're constantly getting new people that wants to move here. We've been growing for the last 5 years with an average of just over 10%, sometimes up to 13% per year in population. And everybody that comes here aligned with the idea. Yeah, we do have our differences, but broadly, everybody that comes here is bought into the idea that we want more freedom, more self-sufficiency, and that we want to make that happen in various ways. So there's a common purpose, a shared goal. There's really excitement. There's so much positive energy in Orania, because all that you see happening around you is construction projects going up. You see people building new businesses, a lot of children being born, as Iranians. You see people embracing the hard work of Orania because they know they're working towards something. Now, that is just my way to describe the feeling that's very much alive in Orania, but also on a more practical note, there's a lot of processes going on. There's a lot of businesses. I think there's something like, in the last year, I think there's something like 200 new businesses that's been registered in the past year.
Wow.
So there's a lot of economic activity and a lot of newcomers and lots of outside people, whether that be journalists or just tourists coming to visit. And that's what it's like. It's to some extent a very exciting life, but we are also living close to nature and close to our works and our jobs. It's not idyllic. It's not heaven. We do have our challenges, lots of them. But Scott, let me tell you, it's really the most fantastic place to live, and I wouldn't want to live any place else.
Fantastic. I have to tell you, one of my big regrets is that I never visited Irania. I was in South Africa several times, and I got close to Irania, but I was on the road between, I think it was East London and Philippolis, and then from Philippolis I went straight up to Bloem. But I always wanted to see Irania, and one of the things that fascinated me about Irania is that you have your own money called the Ora. Now, I'll tell you why I'm fascinated is because I used to be a numismatist before I embraced this campaign to try and help alert the world to what's going on in South Africa. And I always wanted to get my hands on some of these Orania notes, but I never did, because I just love the idea. I love token coins, and the Ora is almost like a token banknote, but it's pegged to the rand, I believe. Can you tell us more about how that came about?
Yeah, I would love to. Scott, well, send me your postal address and I might send you a few Oras for your collection. But let me explain first why we did what we did. Sorry, yeah?
Hey, carry on.
Oh, sorry, I thought you want to say something.
No.
Scott, no, let me tell you the idea behind the Ora. I said earlier that one of the important things was we call it instellings, initiatives inside Orania that we can, institutions that we can embrace in order to become more self-sufficient. Now, first of all, we all know that it's illegal to start a new currency in South Africa. It's illegal to do something like that because the rand is the national currency.
Right.
What is not illegal is to have your own token system, like a lot of shops and malls and stuff.
Yes, exactly.
And we saw that something very important in order to strengthen our internal economy is to keep money flowing locally rather than out of the community. So we look at the rand value, and I think it was in 2004, circulating inside Irani at any given moment, and we printed Oras for that sum and started circulating it. So you can use either rands or Oras in Irani. But here is the reason why we did the Ora. First of all, it is safe. Nobody is going to put a gun to your head and take all your money because they can't use it anywhere else.
That's a good idea.
So there's a safety implication.
Right.
Second, we have money that symbolizes the things that we hold dear, heroes from our history, symbols that we embrace, and so on. And we have it circulating inside our community. It's something that we like to look at, and it's something that's culturally you identify with it. Also important. Then thirdly, we back every Ora with a rand. But obviously for the period that you're using that Ora, those rands are lying in the bank gaining interest. Meaning that every 4 years when we publish a new series of Oras, that interest that you gained through the Orania Chambers of Commerce's investments we can use to empower small businesses, give people training in business, and so on. Fourthly, we have a lot of tourists and journalists, and everybody want to take their own photo, you know.
And they take them home with them.
Yeah, and they exchange it for rands.
Yeah.
They exchange it for rands. So you have rands flowing into your economy, and paper flowing out. And that money is also then used by the Orania Chamber of Commerce to help businesses, to empower businesses, train the personnel, and so on and so forth. So we're very proud of the Ora. And if I can give you a bit of a hint, we are also finalizing the e-Ora project, which opens a lot of new possibilities for businesses in Orania. And obviously, there's a lot of deals that can be done very privately in terms of the e-Ora. Also, what you do have is very fast transactions from cell phone to cell phone. We're looking forward to get that system going not too long from now. Actually, there was an event that would have happened with the new series of Ora, which is stunning, by the way. I saw them. It's going to be really a great new looking Ora that's coming out.
Right.
But that's placed a bit on hold with this whole COVID thing. So the moment we can gather in large groups again, we will introduce the new series of Ora and also show people how that looks like.
Fantastic. Is there any chance that I could somehow hook up with someone at Irania to cover that live, the event that you have for that?
Oh, I'm pretty sure we can. We can get someone from the Chamber of Commerce, or we can. Yeah, I'm sure we can cover that event.
Fantastic. Could you get them to speak to Marlena? And look, we're in on that. I think that'd be a fabulous idea. I have to tell you what I think you could do with your notes that could really basically boost your profits tremendously. And that is every year have some significant change either to the note, or you actually stamp the year on the note. And
we do that. Scott.
Do you? So you have every year you date the actual notes, and that's fantastic because
we have serials on all of them, but we also every 4 years we put out a new series of Ora. And that means serious collectors and so on.
Yes.
They chase that the first few serials of the new print and so on, and they look different every time. There's a small change. The last set of Oras actually is the first ones to have the Ora sign on them. If you go look on our website www.orania.co.za, you can see that there is some pictures of the Ora, which is also very nice.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I love the idea that you got your own notes. I think that is so cool. Now, Ramaphosa is late again, guys. I'm watching the surprise. So we'll keep chatting until he comes on, and then we'll analyze what he says after. Now, in what degree is Irani self-sufficient?
Well, that is a good question, Scott. It's a very important question, and it's I think it's the most asked one. Let me explain how we see self-sufficiency. We see it as something that you don't gain from the top down, but from the bottom up. And what I mean with that is self-sufficiency is not something that you declare as a first step. Self-sufficiency is not something that you outline on a map and you now say that this is our area or whatever. Self-sufficiency is something that you prove. And with that I mean self-sufficiency is only possible if you can back it up. Talk is cheap, but money buys the whiskey. And self-sufficiency is the ability to fully look after yourselves. To be able to produce your own food, which is very important. And luckily, given the Orange River scheme of the dams and the channels and a very active agricultural community and a lot of agricultural activity around Aronia, we are very blessed in that terms that we have a lot of food production going on around Aronia and in Aronia itself as well. But it's also the ability to look after yourself economically fully. It's also the responsibility that goes with looking after your people and so on. So we believe our way to being more, and as I said, we believe in growing self-sufficiency. So we started from the bottom and we're working ourselves up. And one of the most important things is that own institutions that I referred to earlier. You have to have institutions that can fulfill the things that either the state don't want to do for you, or the things that the state can't do for you anymore. Look at things like security in rural areas. So the South African police is one of the most corrupt institutions in South Africa, and that's official statistics. It's not my own personal opinion. And luckily, there are some exceptions to the rule. We're very thankful for the police officers that's not corrupt and that taking their job seriously and so on. But police just don't have the teeth to control the entire rural area of South Africa. Yeah. And we see that manifest in things like farm murders that's become very violent and so on. So what we embrace in Orania is growing our structures, creating a security company that's registered, professional, that complies to all the national rules and standards and stuff, but delivers a service to Iranians and help keep them safe. And there's a lot of examples like that in the broader South Africa and in Orania, where the institutions that we create grows up and takes up more and more and more responsibility. So it's a very hard question to answer in what extent are we really self-sufficient. But there's a lot of functions that we can fulfill for ourselves. Paddling your own canoe requires that you have a canoe and that you have paddles and that you have the strength to paddle it, right?
Right.
And we are simultaneously growing that three things all the time. But on a very, very practical level, how self-sufficient are we? We bought a town in 1991, and we continued like that for 9 years until in 2000. This process of new government started obviously in 1994, but in 96 there was a new way of thinking about South Africa, and that was the process that was started to roll out of putting every inch of South Africa under municipal rule, right? So that was a new system, and the ANC rolled it out officially in 2000, and they said that Orania must now be part of the Thimbilihle municipality. And we said we don't want to be part of the Thimbilihle municipality. It's far from Orania. It's let me just explain. The system is 2, 3, 4 towns all over the country combines into one municipality.
Right.
Obviously, that's not such a good idea, and it's not working very well even now.
That's unsurprising.
At that stage, we just didn't want to be part of Thimbilihle municipality. So we said we're not going to be part of it. We've been delivering our own services for 9 years, and we're not going to change that now. And the ANC said you have to, and we said we're not going to, and that continued for a bit until, like all good things do, it ended in court. And in the Constitutional Court, actually, because Orania didn't want to fall into the Thimbilihle municipality. And what happened is that actually with a bit of grace, I think, and with very good lawyers, we handled the case and handled it, and suddenly it was the day before the nationwide municipal elections. And the ANC or the government actually was in quite a hot spot, because if there's a constitutional court case regarding one of the municipalities and the election can't continue. So you have the first municipal election in South Africa, and this is a story that not a lot of people know about.
Right.
But you have a town of 300 people keeping the entire country's election process hostage, if I can use that word. Because nothing can continue if the case isn't solved. So we actually went and when we settled outside of court in our favor to a large extent, giving Orania the right to be a unique municipality and electing our own.
I think Ramaphosa is just coming on.
Not only on the health of
Let's hear what he has to say.
Okay, all right. I'll see you after his talk.
People's ability to earn a living, to feed themselves and their families, to learn and to develop, but also to enjoy many of the basic freedoms that we daily take for granted. This evening, let us keep in our thoughts and prayers all those who have been infected by the virus, all those who have lost loved ones, and all those who have endured and continue to endure, who continue to endure great hardships because of the pandemic. It is nearly 7 weeks since we implemented our thoughts and prayers nationwide lockdown. All those who have been infected during this time, South Africans have demonstrated all those great courage who have lost loved ones and responsibility. I once again thank you all for the sacrifices you have made thus far. I'd like to say, as I have said before, that despite its duration and its severity, the lockdown that we've imposed was absolutely necessary. Without the lockdown, the number of coronavirus infections would have soared uncontrollably. Our health facilities would have been overwhelmed and many thousands South Africans would have died. From the very beginning, our response has been guided by advice from world-leading experts from our own country and from across the globe. We've also benefited from the guidance from the World Health Organization, infections, the experiences that other nations have been through in dealing with this virus have also given us invaluable insights. There have been several projections about the possible path the disease would have taken without our swift and decisive action. As more data has become available, these predictions have been updated and refined. The best current estimate is that without the lockdown and the other measures that we have taken, at least, they say, 80,000 South Africans could have been infected by now. And the death toll could have been at least 8 times higher than what it is at the moment. As it stands, there are 219 people in our country who have succumbed to this disease. By contrast, at a similar stage in the progression of the disease, countries such as the United States had recorded over 22,000 deaths, and the United Kingdom over 19,000 deaths. We should never forget that the purpose of the lockdown was to delay the spread of the virus and prevent a huge surge of infections. So far, we have been successful in the manner in which we as South Africans have responded and dealt with this virus. And by this, I mean all of us as South Africans. The percentage of cases identified out of all the tests conducted, what is known as the positivity rate, has remained rather low and stable. The level of confirmed infections in South Africa is around 181 people per million of the population. By contrast, countries such as the United States, the United Kingdom, Spain, Italy, and Singapore have been between 2,400 and 4,600 coronavirus cases per million people. In our case, it is significant that out of the 12,074 confirmed cases in South Africa, we have recorded 4,745 people who have recovered. By delaying the spread of the disease, we've been able to strengthen the capacity of our health system and to put in place wide-ranging public health programs to better manage the inevitable increase in infections. We now have nearly 25,000 additional beds available for quarantine. additional to the beds we already have. We have been able to source and produce substantial quantities of personal protective equipment for health workers, vital medical equipment, and other supplies. But we still need more. Using the valuable time which the lockdown gave us, we have managed to significantly expand our screening and our testing program. In all, our field workers have now screened over 9 million people in our country, and we have conducted nearly 370,000 coronavirus tests. This is the largest and most extensive public health mobilization in the history of our country. It has been made possible by the hard work and dedication of thousands of community workers, nurses, doctors, and other health workers. They have made enormous sacrifices to ensure the success of the lockdown. By answering the call to stay at home and stay safe, you, the people of South Africa, have helped all of us to save many lives. As we have strengthened our public health response, we have introduced several vital measures to support the companies, the workers, and the households that have been severely affected by the lockdown. We have introduced an economic and social relief package worth over 500 billion rand to help companies in distress, to save jobs, and to provide some income to informal workers and poor households. Since it was established, the special COVID-19 relief scheme of the Unemployment Insurance Fund has paid out over 11 billion rand to 2 million workers employed by over 160,000 companies in distress. This will help to keep companies afloat and save millions of jobs. The various funds that we established to provide support for small businesses, including the initiatives of the Department of Small Business Development, the Department of Tourism, the Industrial Development Corporation, and the South African Future Trust, have provided direct assistance to over 27,000 enterprises. As of today, the 200 billion rand COVID-19 loan guarantee scheme, which is guaranteed by the government, has begun to process applications from small and medium-sized businesses. At the beginning of this month, government paid out an additional 5 billion rand to social grant recipients to assist poor households at a time when other sources of income have been disrupted. We have opened applications for the special COVID-19 grant of 350 rand a month for unemployed South Africans who receive no other form of assistance from government. By the close of business today, some 3 million South Africans had already applied for this assistance. These temporary measures will be in place for 6 months. We will continue to spare no effort to ensure our most vulnerable citizens are supported and protected during this difficult time. The scale of the measures we have taken, including tax relief and interventions by the South African Reserve Bank, is quite historic. The Solidarity Fund, which was set up to support the coronavirus response, has raised around 2.7 billion rand in commitments from over 175,000 individuals and more than 1,500 companies and foundations. We are grateful to the many governments and organizations that continue to generously support our coronavirus response. In addition to those that I have previously recognized, I wish to express our appreciation to the government and the people of the United States for the donation of 1,000 ventilators. I also want to recognize the commitment of the Elma Group of Foundations of 2 billion rand to mitigate the impact of coronavirus on vulnerable communities in Africa, our continent. This includes an immediate contribution of 250 million rand to South Africa's Solidarity Fund. We are determined that our response matches the proportions of the crisis and helps to ensure that the foundations of our economy are protected. There have been very disturbing reports of increased levels of gender-based violence since the lockdown started. The scourge of gender-based violence continues to stalk our country as the men of our country have declared war on the women of South Africa. We have developed an emergency pathway for survivors to ensure that the victims of gender-based violence are assisted. One of the interventions we have made is to ensure lockdown regulations to be structured in a manner that a woman can leave her home to report abuse without the fear of a fine, intimidation, or further violence. Now, 2 months after we declared a national state of disaster, we are ready to shift to a new phase in our response to the coronavirus pandemic. On the 1st of May, we moved to alert level 4 from level 5 and began the phased easing of the national lockdown. This was in line with our risk-adjusted strategy, through which we sought to slow down the rate of infection and flatten the curve. We are now preparing for a further easing of the lockdown and a gradual opening of our economy. I will repeat what I have said before. If we lift the lockdown too abruptly and too quickly, we risk a rapid and unmanageable surge in infections. We will therefore continue to proceed cautiously, informed by the best available evidence and guided by the advice of local and international experts, but also in observing the experiences of other nations. Our goal is to steadily increase economic activity while putting measures in place to reduce the transmission of the virus and provide adequate care for those who become infected and need treatment. When I last addressed you, I outlined the 5-level alert system that we have introduced to guide this process. At the time, the country was at level 5, as I said, which has the most stringent restrictions on movement of people and economic activity. Alert level 4, which is the current level across the country, retains most of the lockdown regulations but permits the gradual opening up of certain parts of the economy. Alert level 3 to 1 allow progressively greater relaxation of restrictions. As I indicated then, some areas of the country may be designated at a particular alert level, while others may be designated at another level. This would be done according to the rate of infection in an area and the state of readiness and the capacity of its health facilities to cope with treating infected people. For now, infections are mostly concentrated in a few metropolitan municipalities and districts in our country. It is important that we maintain stringent restrictions in those areas and restrict travel out of these areas to other parts of the country with lower rates of infection. We will immediately begin a process of consultation with relevant stakeholders on the proposal that by the end of May, most of the country should be placed on alert level 3, but that those parts of the country with the highest rates of infection remain on level 4. We will make further announcements in this regard after the completion of the consultations we will have. In the coming days, we will also be announcing certain changes to level 4 regulations to expand permitted business activities in a number of sectors in the retail, in the e-commerce, and reduce restrictions also on exercise. Some of our people have questioned whether our approach in dealing with the coronavirus has been at the expense of the livelihood of our people. Our strategic approach has been based on saving lives and preserving livelihoods. Our key objective has always been to slow down the infection rate through a number of interventions in our coronavirus prevention toolbox. And each of these prevention measures are crucial and are non-negotiable. They being, 1, a lockdown which is meant to achieve extreme social distancing, which we have been on. Second one is social distancing itself. The third, adopting hand hygiene practices by washing hands regularly with water and soap or sanitizer. A professor told me that this has been the tried and tested method for over 150 years. Fourth one is the cough etiquette, including coughing into your elbow, like I showed the last time, or a tissue. The next one would be wearing cloth masks whenever you are in public spaces, like this, and wearing it properly. The next one is the use of personal protection equipment by all our health workers. The next one is frequent cleaning of the work environment and other public spaces. And may I add here, it should also include the cleaning of our living environment as well. Good hygiene. The next one is symptom screening. The next one is testing, isolation, quarantine, and contact tracing. It is in the implementation of all these preventative measures that we will overcome this disease. The success of our efforts to limit transmission of the virus depends on finding those who are infected as early as possible, tracing their contacts or those they've been in contact with, and isolating them so they cannot pass on the virus to others. Our door-to-door screening campaign in vulnerable communities across the country has resulted in over 100,000 people being referred for testing. This gave us a good indication of the extent of the infection amongst our people, but we now need a screening and testing program that is targeted to areas where people are more likely to be infected. This will involve the identification of infection hotspots using a combination of technology, surveillance data, and the epidemiological mapping, enabling the rapid deployment of dedicated screening and testing teams to those areas. Those found to be positive should either self-isolate or be isolated in suitable and independently inspected facilities. Most importantly, this new phase will require each of us to change our own behavior in profound ways. There needs to be a fundamental shift in our thinking and our way of life. We need to take personal responsibility for our own health and the health of others. Let us remember that although the lockdown has slowed down the rate of transmission, the virus is very much still present and will be present amongst us for a long time to come. We have been warned that infections will inevitably rise as the lockdown measures are eased, as has happened in many other countries. We also know that the coronavirus will continue to be a global health threat for some time to come, and that the fight against COVID-19 needs to become part of our daily lives. Our success in overcoming the virus will ultimately be determined by the changes we make in our behavior, by the changes we make in how we move around, by the changes we make in our personal interactions, by changes we make where if you go into a mall, you must expect that at the door they will give you a sanitizer. They'll be sanitizing so that you can clean your hands. The hugging and shaking of hands and kissing is a thing of the past. As restrictions are eased, we will need to observe social distancing even more carefully. Yes, wear our face masks whenever we leave home, wash hands regularly with soap and water or sanitizer, and avoid contact with other people. I've been encouraged that so many people are wearing face masks in public since the start of Alert 4. I went walking this morning, and the many people that I saw in the street were wearing their face masks. And it was then that I really realized that South Africans have taken the message of wearing face masks seriously. I was really encouraged. We will need to reorganize our workplaces, our schools, our universities, our colleges, and other public spaces to limit transmission. We will need to adapt to new ways of worshiping, of socializing, of exercising, and also of meetings. And this will minimize the opportunities for the virus to spread. It is our actions now that will determine whether the advantage we gained through the lockdown can be sustained. It is our actions now, individually and together, that will determine whether the great sacrifices that people have made over these last 2 months will ultimately save the lives of thousands of South Africans and spare our country from the huge devastation that this pandemic can cause. The transition to the next phase of the coronavirus response will in many ways be more difficult than the present one. The risk of infection outbreaks will increase as more people return to work. This calls for vigilance, responsibility, and discipline from all of us. My fellow South Africans, over the last 7 weeks, you have been asked to endure much and to sacrifice much. On more than one occasion, I have stood before you and asked you to accept stringent restrictions on your daily lives, knowing that these will bring great hardship. You have heeded these calls, firmly convinced that these measures are necessary for the health and the well-being and indeed the survival of each one of us. In return for everything that is being asked of you, there are a few fundamental things that you ask of us, your leaders. And that is why we must acknowledge that as we have confronted this unprecedented challenge, there may have been times when we have fallen short of your expectations. Some of the actions we have taken have been unclear, some have been contradictory, and some have been poorly explained, and some have evoked a lot of anger and opposition in all of you, in many of you rather. Implementation has sometimes been slow, and enforcement has sometimes been inconsistent and too harsh. This evening, I want to reaffirm my commitment and the commitment of the government that I lead to take whatever action is necessary to safeguard the life, the dignity, and the interests of the people of our country. The last time I addressed you, I said that we will soon be embarking on the third phase of our economic response to the coronavirus crisis by outlining a clear strategy for economic recovery. Cabinet is seized with this issue and will be announcing the outcome of what we are discussing when we have completed our work. We are determined and committed to ensure that all government decisions are taken in good faith, that they are reasonable and rational and are based on empirical evidence, and that they do not cause much harm than good. Also, we're committed to be transparent, to take the nation into confidence, and to transparently be able to impart information to the people of this country. To continue to be forthright on the state of the pandemic. You want to know when things are bad, and you want to be told when they could get worse. We are committed to continue to engage and to consult with you. We are, after all, a consultative government. We are also committed to ensure that we continue to mobilize every resource at our disposal to support the most vulnerable and to give the greatest support to those most in need. And we are also committed to make sure that the funds that are dedicated to our coronavirus response are not wasted and that they are not stolen. Above all, I pledge once again to ensure that your rights are respected and upheld, and especially those who have been entrusted with this responsibility. As your president, as this government, we are firmly committed to meeting the expectations you rightly expect of us. Where we have disappointed, we will continue to make amends. Where we have made mistakes, and as I said, we are traversing uncharted territory. None of us has ever been through what we are going through now in the history of this country. We will make mistakes, but I can assure you we will always seek to correct those mistakes. Our collective struggles over the past months have taught us much about ourselves and about each other. We have also learned a lot about this virus. Although there may have been differences and disagreements, there have also been amazing levels of kindness, of empathy, and compassion that has been demonstrated by many South Africans across the length and the breadth of our country. There has been courage and solidarity.
Oh my God, this is a nothing burger, isn't it?
A very different South Africa and world awaits us. The greatest test will be our willingness to embrace change. We are now required to rise to meet this challenge. We need to stand as one family and one nation to build a new and stronger society and a stronger South Africa. The days before us will be difficult, but we will draw strength from what we have already achieved. And this challenge that we're facing now has presented us with enormous difficulties, but we are making progress and we are achieving some good results. We should recall the words spoken by the father of our nation, Nelson Mandela, 20 years ago, when our country was being devastated by another pandemic. He said, in the face of the grave threat posed by HIV/AIDS, we have to rise above our differences and combine our efforts to save our people. He continued to say, history will judge us harshly if we fail to do so now. As I end, let me offer the words of another leader who had to confront another difficult challenge, which was the Second World War and the Depression, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He delivered some words at a difficult time in the life of his own country. The state of this nation, he said, is good. The heart of this nation is sound. The spirit of this nation is strong. The faith of this nation is eternal. Close quotes. May God bless South Africa and protect her people. I thank you. Thank you.
Well, guys, there you had it. Ramaphosa. For me, that was an absolute nothing burger. It's just a waste of time, as so many people have said in the side chat. Now, I've got a little survey I'd like to do with those people who are watching. If you think this was a nothing burger, please put in just the number 1. If you think Cyril Ramaphosa is a waste of space, put in the number 2. If you think this was a critically important message for the state of the nation, put in number 3. Let's see what the side chat think. While you're doing that, I'm going to get Joost back on so we can continue with our conversation. Oh my gosh, what a waste of time that was. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I think the ones have it. I'm pretty sure the ones have it. Okay, let's get yours back on, shall we? Hi, Joost.
Scott.
Well, what did you think of his speech?
Well, Scott, to be honest with you, I'm still looking for any substance to comment on. There was very little substance in this one.
Well, there was a bunch of lies in there that I picked up straight away. I mean,
indeed. Sorry?
Like 500 billion rand for companies to the poor, you know. Now that's very selective. It kind of cuts out the white community, doesn't it? He doesn't say that you know we got black economic empowerment tied into that, does he?
Yeah, what he focused on a lot was speaking about vulnerable communities. But what we've seen in the past few weeks is that vulnerable communities for him automatically disqualifies Afrikaners or white people in South Africa. So he must actually not do us this favor and speak about vulnerable communities. He must just clearly and honestly state who they are going to help.
Yeah, exactly. But was there anything of substance in there that caught your attention?
Well, Scott, to be honest, what caught my attention was that it felt like this entire speech was just a show of I'm still here, I'm still busy, just look at me. It was a very political thing to do, I think. My interpretation of it was not very well planned. It felt like it was put together in a very short time without really a clear message. He referred back to a lot of things that he already said. Without really indicating. He said that most of the country should be on level 3 at the end of this month, which is I can't understand why you would do that with the economic implications that's coming.
Yeah.
Also, Scott, I cannot see any plan that they actually have regarding the economy. The economy is possibly going to be the worst killer of all. We must, when we look at the economy and the economic implications that's on its way, we must take into account that we are not weighing lives versus money. We are weighing lives died from the virus, which is not, in my terms anyway, as potent as people used to think, or maybe even how I used to think. But the economy will also kill people. People without jobs won't be able to eat. Yeah. People won't be able to provide for themselves. And I think that's going to be the big killer here. And I've seen zero substance from Ramaphosa indicating how he's thinking of saving this economy. It's actually shocking to see this very little little attention to making an economic plan. He kept promising us, and if you guys remember at the start of was it this year when he referred to the new dawn and the super city that he wants to build, that was also the same kind of promises. Radical change, something new. And he kept saying, now again, something is new and something is coming, some new economy is coming. But we never actually seeing how he plans to execute that. We only see promises and we see zero results. And that is really something to be worried about. The really draconic, tyrannical restrictions at this stage in South Africa for those people from outside South Africa watching. We were one of the countries in the world with the strictest lockdown measures. We are one of the only countries where you can't buy cigarettes or alcohol. And I can't really seem to find a good reason for that. You can't buy a lot of things. And now this morning we saw that the ANC is also now taking control of what clothes you can buy in this country.
What? What clothes you can buy?
there's a list published this morning or late last night, either one, that stipulated which clothes is acceptable to be bought during the lockdown period. And it specifically had to be baby clothes or winter's clothes. If you want to buy something else, they deem non-essential, you can't buy it. And we saw more noise coming from the ministers regarding food parcels and state control regarding food parcels. Is the ANC actually nationalizing food and clothing in this country? It is shocking to see these things. And it's only shocking if you look at it in terms of reaction on a virus. If you look at it through this perspective of the ANC trying to push through the communist agenda that they had for a very long time, the National Democratic Revolution that they wanted to push through for a very long time, it's not that shocking anymore. It actually makes sense. But then you have to be honest with yourself, and the ANC has to be honest with us and show us that they have this in mind. Otherwise, give communities the opportunity to decide more about themselves. Look at a community like Orania, for example. We have 0 positive cases here, but they try to force these lockdown restrictions down on us. We have nobody that's sick. We have full control of our community, and we should have the opportunity to try and to stabilize the economy here. A map was published last time he spoke, and it seems a similar map is published now again. And last time he spoke, he said, it was 20 days ago or so, he said that we are going to look about more localized virus response and lockdown restrictions. We are not seeing this. I mean, where is it? Where are those rules?
Right.
Or those losing. So it doesn't make sense, to be honest, Scott, if you clearly the ANC's communist agenda is hanging out.
Yeah, well, look, I have to agree with you. I think that the reason he came on was just to show that he's still president, and Dlamini Zuma and her group haven't taken over yet. But I think the rest of what he spoke about was a load of, to be quite frank, bullshit. I mean, when Ramaphosa speaks, you know, he's just talking crap. I mean, he's a waste of space. Now, you touched on Corona and the impact it's having on business. How is the lockdown impacting Irania?
Well, Scott, what we did, the first response to the crisis, and this is if you go back, we're about 50 days into lockdown now. Even before that, the moment that the pandemic started to spread worldwide, Urania immediately saw the need to initiate the emergency operational center, and different members of the community went onto that committee. That is that's medical doctors, there's security personnel, municipal staff, and communication personnel, and also some decision makers of the community, the city planning person of the Aronia municipality. All those people was given the mandate to make important decisions regarding Orania and to respond to this thing. Then the lockdown started, and to be honest, what we are seeing more and more is that we have to react on I want to say idiotic lockdown measures rather than the virus itself, because we haven't had any positive cases yet. So we are looking at things like how to restart businesses in Iranian in a safe and responsible way. We're looking at things like how to keep our people fed and happy and so on. We started the emergency fund to make sure everybody has got the opportunity to eat and so on. But what we're actually seeing, Scott, to be honest, is that a lot of Iranians are taking the initiative back into their hands in terms of making plans. We've seen very, very early that distilleries changed into disinfectant factories, hand sanitizer factories. We've seen other factories being turned into mask factories. Orania is exporting thousands and thousands of masks on a weekly basis. Other communities buying from Orania, and we're creating that surplus and getting that out there. We're seeing a very, very good and stable agricultural community making plans, staying safe and staying responsible, doing what needs to be done, but also taking that initiative back and making sure there's food for people. We're seeing lots of businesses realigning themselves, diversifying, and so on and so forth, so that they are permitted to work and actually, I've heard someone said earlier this week that every business is an essential business, otherwise it wouldn't exist. A business is essential because it creates a living for people. And we've seen Iranians taking up that, rising to the challenge, taking up that responsibility, and actually going out and, as I said, diversifying their way of business, making new plans and taking new initiatives. And in that way, I think a business is actually doing quite well.
Right. Now, talking about business, what makes Irania's economy so strong in normal circumstances? Not in the lockdown now, but I mean before.
Yeah. Well, Scott, let's put it this way. Orania has got no, say something, economic infrastructure that has been here before we got here. We don't have scarce minerals or mines or something that keeps everybody alive. We don't we don't have those kinds of natural resources. What we do have is good land for agriculture, although it's very arid and dry as well. We have water from the river that we can pump, and the agricultural sector is playing an important role. Tourism played a very big role, but obviously that's changing a bit with the corona pandemic. So, but the point I'm trying to make is that business in Orania is strong because if you come here, you need to take the initiative and make a plan. There is no cheap labor. There is no scarce resources that you can just mine or so. You have to put up a business that makes sense. So almost all businesses in Orania make sense economically. It's something that there's a need for, a demand for. We are exporting things to the outside. So because Orania don't have natural resources, we have to create things that we can export to outside Orania. So whether it be the distilleries or the very good beer breweries that we have, or different factories that we have creating bricks and so on. Our construction sector obviously booming with all the growth, the 10% population growth per year. Obviously our construction sector is booming, giving work opportunities for a lot of people, because the town must be built, the city must grow.
Right.
That's one of the reasons.
Now, with growth, I think one of the most important issues that people around the world need to understand is that Irania has a very, very low crime rate. Do you want to talk to that point compared to the rest of South Africa? Let's hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, Scott. So let's put it this way: the crime in Irania is very low for a lot of reasons. Our first and foremost security measures is, I almost want to say political, but political is almost a dirty word. But it's our political way of doing things. What we've done is we've created a system where the laborers and the labor practices that we follow is to empower Afrikaners, and it's people living close to you. So the person that, maybe if you use a house cleaner, if you don't use it yourself, or the person that works in your car or cleans or builds your house or so, is someone that's in the same church as you, maybe you said their children may be on the same school than yours. They maybe serve institution in Orania like the Chamber of Commerce with you. So there's very few layers of separation between people in Orania, no matter which class, economic or socio-economic you belong to. Which means we know each other. We're all Afrikaners, and we're connected in multiple ways, making it a safe community because of that factor. So that's the first thing. Then we have good security measures. We have our own private, professional and registered security company, which is actually so well equipped and so on, and have a lot of things that the police in the rural areas doesn't have. The South African police in rural areas is very illy equipped, and they are also very understaffed, undertrained, and so on. And it happened on multiple occasions that the police actually called us and asked for help, and asked for help in the broader community, the broader province, for certain functions that we can fulfill.
Right.
And we do that because we like to keep that relationship, and we help to keep the province safe. A safe province means a safe Orania. So you use that capabilities that we have in order to secure a bigger area.
Right. Now, I just want to address the people watching, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed and ring the bell for the updates. And in the side chat, guys, if you got questions, please put them in there, and the moderators will copy them, and when I'm ready, I'll pose those to Joost. Now, what does Orania hope to achieve, and how? And how is it going to work? Countries, it's like pushing the proverbial uphill when you look at what's going on in the rest of South Africa. How is Irania just going to continue to grow under those circumstances when South Africa is falling apart?
Well, Scott, firstly, I think we have no other choice anymore. If we look at the things, and something that I didn't mention is the absolute power abuses that we've been seeing from the police and the military, during this lockdown period. Interestingly enough, Cyril didn't comment on that.
No.
Shockingly enough, actually, we've seen some very major events, like little kids being thrown around, which really boils the blood and gets you very angry. Which means we don't have any other choice than to be successful. We need to be successful in order to secure a safe future for people. We need to be successful in order to make sure that our children can go to schools and learn and be successful. We need to be successful in order to make sure businesses survive and our people survive economically. We don't have another choice anymore. We need to create this alternative. But we also have, the grace of the Lord, and we also have, more and more people waking up to the idea that maybe the solution is in communities like Orania, and communities taking responsibility for themselves. And if you ask what we hope to achieve, we hope to achieve more and more self-sufficiency, so that we can be recognized for the self-sufficiency that we can. As I said, we have to paddle our own canoe, but we have to be recognized for that as well. And we can only be recognized for that self-sufficiency if we can actually make it work and make a success of it. So we've always been striving towards freedom. It is something that we would want, even if it didn't go that bad in South Africa. Afrikaners still want to decide for themselves. So that is what the Orania movement and Orania is actively following. It's the thing that we're actively chasing. Freedom for Afrikaners, yeah.
Right. Okay, now just talking about that, look, there are a lot of groups who talk, there's secession movements, and there are all sorts of things happening around South Africa. Is the Irania model a solution for other minority groups in South Africa?
Definitely. What a lot of people don't actually know, Scott, is that the Orania movement and Orania has given our recipe. Things like our local bank, we have a community bank. We don't have a commercial bank in Orania. We have our own bank, and other things like that. We've been given this recipe, this set of ideas for other communities to use. We want them to embrace this. Lots of other minority communities are not hostile towards Orania or of racial tensions in South Africa for their own benefit. Other minority communities in South Africa does not want that. If we look at Nyameni, for the community, for them to strengthen their community and to strengthen their way of life and so on, and not being bullied by party politics. Other minority groups such as the Khoisan also liaise with Orania on a very local level, community level, in order to get some advice and get some ideas. And we're really open for that, because we believe the only solution for South Africa is a South Africa where there's a community of communities, meaning we need to be self-sufficient on a very local level in order to work together and successfully. This idea of a country forced to be together and to work together and so on, it doesn't seem to be working. Communities taking responsibility for themselves might be our only solution.
Right. Now, I'm going to start moving to the questions, guys. So the questions that you've already asked, and I've got a bunch of them here. So just feel free to put your questions into the side chat. I'm going to start with Rob Roy. He says, what is the physical limit of your municipality and the land?
In terms of how many people it can accommodate?
I guess that, and what size? How many hectares does the area cover?
Yeah. So firstly, the current land that we own can accommodate about 10,000 people. That's not infrastructure, that's just area.
And you've got about 1,000 at the moment, have you?
We've got about 2,000, just short of 2,000.
2,000, okay, right.
So our short-term goal is to fill that 10,000 people limit that our current amount of land can fit. Obviously, we want to create a modern and functioning city, very, very modern, and the best city in Africa. And we need people to live in that city. So the short-term goal is to be able to accommodate that 10,000 people. But in terms of the surrounding area, most of the people surrounding Orania is very friendly towards Orania. More and more people living around Orania is voluntarily connecting themselves to the Orania Constitution. And even if the land is then not owned by the Orania municipality, it is under the Orania rules and under the Orania Constitution. That's a very interesting way of growing your community and growing the amount of land that we own. Right. By people voluntarily putting their land as part of it. So hundreds of hectares is actually coming into the Orania, bigger Orania ideal than just what we actually own now. And more space is opening up. What our municipality can accommodate in terms of what they can service, that's growing every day. Right. Remember now that the municipality has I don't want to use the word tax because we still have to pay our taxes to the government, and maybe there is a way that we can find to put more and more of our taxes inside Orania itself. But we have to pay taxes to the government, but we receive zero back for that because we do everything ourselves here. So now you have to grow a community, you have to put in services for more and more people, but you only have the tax base of the existing 2,000 or just short of 2,000. But you have to put in services to accommodate 10,000 people. A very good example now is our new sewage plant, which is modular in design. It can the current construction can now take up to 7,000 people, accommodate up to 7,000 people. But we have to build that with the tax base of what we have, without any government help. And same with the electricity grid, the same with water supply and roads and so on. So as we grow with more and more people, we can accommodate more and more people.
Well, I think you've got the only sewage works that works in the country.
That might be true, Scott.
I think it is. I mean, the way the pumps have been installed is just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, now Marlene has asked, is Irania on lockdown? I think you said it was, but just tell us more.
Yeah, we reacted. We are still under the same set of rules, but we taking up as much initiative as we can during this time, and we are interpreting the level 4 as widely as we can.
Right, now with your police, I mean, are they sympathetic to Irania's operations? Are they? How do you work with the police? Because if you had the wrong people in there, it could be a really there'd be a lot of conflict, wouldn't there?
You're referring to the South African Police Service, or
no, the South African Police Service.
So the closest South African Police Service station is almost 50 kilometers from Orania.
Ah, so you have your own security, and that's it.
Security systems, yes.
Well, that's
enforcing the rules that we see fit from a municipal level to a large extent.
Right.
It is a private security company, and you must remember also that Orania is a unique and independent municipality as well.
Right. Well, knowing how corrupt so many police are, it's probably why the crime level is so low in Irania. Anyway, that's just my point of view. Now,
we've seen some shocking statistics during this COVID downtime regarding police and smuggling.
Yeah.
I mean, something as banning cigarettes, and I mean, there's a lot of police officers complicit in the smuggling of cigarettes and illegally taking it away from people. We're seeing that more and more in the media now. And
Edward Zuma is very involved in that, which makes me wonder why Dlamini Zuma, who heads up the NCCC that made the decision to ban legitimate cigarettes, made that decision because his cigarettes are illegal and they've been apparently distributed everywhere. Guess he's making a quick buck there. But it is a gangster state, so it is what it is. Now, MacFire has asked, do they have a place for a disabled SASSA pensioner with his own caravan and food truck?
We have a place for every Afrikaner that can come and can make a difference here, and there's definitely an opportunity for a person like that to come and play a role here. For everybody that's willing, there's a place to come and play a role.
There's your answer. Scale Model has asked, if I want to move to Irania, do I need to cut my hair? Now that's an interesting question.
Well, you won't find any hairdressers open now. Africa. No. Well, I think we are not a police state, so personal preference, luckily.
Right. Now, Helmut de Vet has asked, can Orania operate without Eskom power?
Well, that is a good question, and a more and more important one. Short answer is no, we cannot. But we are working towards more and more energy, being more and more energy independent. We are actually in the very process now, and the lockdown and Corona mixed with that very badly, unfortunately. But we are in process of putting down a lot of solar capability. We are encouraging people at this stage to put solar capability on their homes, on their businesses. And we have got unlimited sun here in the Karoo, so that is a great source of energy for us. And lots of houses, lots of businesses actually producing so much solar electricity that they're pumping it back into the grid. But we are currently looking to scale that up, and we have a committee working very, very, very intensely on that to create a solar farm.
Right, okay. Now, Maria Reineck has asked, Joost, how much to start a business or build at Orania?
How much to start?
Yeah. To start a business or to build, I guess, build a home in Orania.
Unfortunately, houses is a bit expensive, but that is for a very simple reason. There's a very, very large demand with our growth rate, our yearly growth rate, and there's a small supply because we literally can't service new plots fast enough. In order to create a bigger demand to meet a bigger supply to meet the demand a bit better, the municipality is actually on a project to service a lot of new plots now, yards now, very, very quickly and efficiently. And by doing that, we're creating more and more space for people to come, and it's actually, servicing that demand, and that might push down house prices a bit. To put down a business is a very, very broad question because that would depend on which business, if you want to put down a factory or a shop or so. But let me just say that it is well within the reach of people. We do have different initiatives such as loans from our bank and so on. We enable people to start businesses. We want them to start businesses. So there's different initiatives like the Help Some Funds, like Weska, Orania Spar and Credit, Orania Savings and Credit, with initiatives to actually make it possible for people to start businesses here.
Okay, is there any particular businesses that you are short of in Orania that you'd like people to set up? I mean, like plumbers, or is there any particular area that you need?
Yeah, in the construction sector, there's a lot of opportunity for growth. We have multiple and hands full of people in the construction sector because the town's growth is so rapid. There's always space for more, but there is especially is some space for initiative. People with cheaper or better or more favorable construction initiatives in terms of the efficiency or whatnot will definitely meet something in the market, and anything that relates to construction will do well. We must also remember that Orania is inside agricultural hub, and anything that puts value on the farmers' products that add value to that might also perform very well. There's a lot of room for factories to create things that we can export from Orania. There's a lot of room for people with technological initiatives, things like working from here remotely. And we saw that that's possible now in COVID time. We saw that that's possible. So there's a lot of space for initiative to take up people working from here remotely and selling their knowledge, selling their skill set. If you're an engineer or whatever and you can consult via the internet, there's options there. And there's a lot of options just internally in terms of servicing the community with things that they need or want to buy or so. But the best is to come and look for yourself, meet here with local business representatives, the Chamber of Commerce and entrepreneurs and so on, and let them give you a better idea of what would do good in the market now, what would do well. Also, I think that the economical changes that's coming post-COVID might sink a lot of people, but it also will definitely create a lot of new opportunities for people to come in.
Right. Now, LMS asked how many people live in Irani, and I think you answered that a while ago. It's about 2,000, isn't it?
We are just short of 2,000 currently.
Okay. Richard Kingsley asked Joost if, this is a strange question, but I'll put it to you anyway. Ask Joost if Michael Tellinger was involved or consults in Arania, as their model seems very similar. Now, I don't know if you know who Michael Tellinger is?
I actually don't, Scott.
Okay, he's got some very interesting ideas about ancient history in South Africa. So obviously the answer is no. Okay, so
I'll read up on a bit. I'd like to read up on people like that. So I'll go and see if he's got interesting views.
Okay, John Jefferson asks, how will Orania cope with a police invasion from the government? Will they defend Orania?
Well, actually, to be honest, as I previously stated, Scott, the police is very, very wide and far in between in the rural areas. Orania is inside a rural agricultural center, and there's very little police activity. We cope well with the police, and we work together with them well. They have called our security company for help multiple times in terms of violent criminals in the broader area and so on. And we help them with the distinction. So we have a good understanding of the police at this stage. I think they're not really bothering us. And if we need help with things, they would be able to help us. And they're not bullying us or really bothering us at this stage. So we have a good relationship.
Fantastic. Okay, I'll just get to the next question. Where are we? Here we are. Fiona Timms. Hi, Fiona. I hope you're feeling better. Fiona's one of the lovely ladies. She's actually a channel hero on this channel. And she asks, where is it gone? Where's it gone? Sorry guys, here we go. A question. What if one's great-grandmother was a true Boer, a spy for them in the Anglo-Boer War, nogal, but her granddaughter married a Scot? Could I live in Orania?
That sounds very interesting. Well, we actually have a guy with Scottish ancestry living in Orania currently. But obviously, as I previously stated, you have to embrace the Afrikaner culture, and you have to embrace the Iranian constitution and so on.
Right. PE has asked, Joost, how do you people power your community?
Power.
People power, getting them all stirred up and working and stuff like that.
And Iranians are very enthusiastic about work, and as I also said, a bit earlier in the show, that there's such a vibrant energy, such excitement in Irania, so much positive energy, because we believe in what we are doing. We have a shared purpose. We see Irania as a solution for a lot of challenges in South Africa, whether it be directly on Afrikaners or not even that. But there's something to believe in. So people just power themselves. They are excited and they're working towards something. So there's a lot of energy and you just have to channel that energy into constructing something and building out the dream.
Great. Okay, Property Power asks, how will they get merchandise to Irania if they are cut off from the rest of the world and not allowed to move over South Africa land or airspace?
Well, that would be a bit of a problem if we ever get in that situation. If we can't move, we can't move. But to be honest, Scott, we recently started. We have a airstrip, and we recently, done some upgrades to it, and we are going to do more and more of that. But we are looking at a future where Orania is very much on a very local level, very self-sufficient, but also not in bad relation to those surrounding us. So I hope it never comes to a point where we are forbidden to travel by air or by land or by water or whatever. I truly hope that it never comes to that point, and that we can trade freely. And that would be the goal. Living in good neighborship. Good fences makes for good neighbors, as they say.
Right. Okay, Mark de Robelard asks, does Irania practice aquaponic or hydroponic agriculture?
Yeah, Scott, to be honest, a lot of people in Irania are so, they feel so connected to agriculture, and it's such an important thing, food security. And we have a lot of people here embracing, on a very small level, the self-sufficiency at home type of attitude, with chickens and garden and so on. And yes, aquaponics, more and more people getting interested in hydroponics and aquaponics. And I think there's a very exciting future for those who can sustain that type of agriculture. And I think Orania can produce a lot of food by really getting into that type of food production.
Right. Okay, now here's an interesting question that John Smith just put in. What is the average age in Orania?
Oh, average age in Orania is 35 years old, as per our last census.
35 years old. There you go, John. Now, let's continue with the question list. I'm just working through the list from the earliest questions. Tace has asked, Joost, how can Irani accommodate older people who cannot really do fiscal work or to start a business, or people who are looking just for a safe haven?
Yeah, so we the elderly in our culture, it's really important to us, looking after and making sure they're okay. And the terrible things that we've seen happening around South Africa in old age homes, and so it's really unacceptable. Our elders are really important to us. So we have a project of the Karoosig Afterword, which is an initiative to help look after these people and aging people with medical care and so on. But we pull people in. There's a saying in Afrikaans, in Orania kom jy nie aftree nie, jy kom aantree, meaning you're not coming to retire in Orania, you're coming to sign up for duty, and doesn't matter the age of a person, they can always play a role. They can always play a role and help take Orania to the next level.
Right. Okay. Next question. Alifta Land has asked, what do I need to do to apply for work in Irania?
Oh, it's very easy. You just send an email to verblijfreg@orania.co.za and you start your process as to become a Orania citizen. It's a quite easy process, and then you look for work opportunities. There's a lady that connects the employee with the employer, and we can try that. Or what you should also do is look at business ideas. Business is the backbone of Orania's economy.
Right. What's that email address again? I'll just put it in the side chat.
Verblijfreg.
Verblij, okay, and then can you spell that second word?
Verblijf and then reg, like.
Verblij reg.
Yeah, at orania.co.za.
Got
That's
it.
the email address too.
At orania.co.za. Okay, verblijreg@orania.co.za. There you go, guys. That's the email address if you're looking to move to Irania and find work there.
Sorry, Scott, that's verblijfreg with a F. Verblijfreg.
Ah,
Verblijfreg, ja. That's right.
okay, okay. As Robert Verlinden has spelt it.
Verblijfreg. That's Orania.
Yeah, just
There you go. I'll put it into the comments.
okay. Fantastic. All right. Now, Scale Model has asked, would Irania accept white people who have skill sets to teach, i.e. web design, PC building, airbrushing, repairing, etc., without certificates?
Yeah, there's also always a role to play, as I said, and the thing is we are focusing more and more on empowering people by training them. So there's we're also creating a institution for training, and we hope that might grow into a university very soon. With Afrikaans and Afrikaners being discriminated against very much on university level. So there's also always a need for skills, and people must just look for a way that they can play a role, yeah, and whether it be business or training or whatnot. But yeah, skills are really important. You must bring them and help us build Orania out. Scott, can you hear me?
Sorry, yeah. All they have to do is put that email address or just send an email to that email address and they can discuss it with them. Now,
Yeah.
Gav Gappy has asked, can one invest in Iranian currency, and if the ZAR crashes, what impact does it have on your local currency? Does it flux in relation to the rand? I'd just like to add something to that. Is there any chance that you could actually back the aura with gold? So you just go right out with the rand.
Scott, that's becoming more and more a relevant question. And that's what I mean when I say that self-sufficiency starts from the bottom and it goes up. It doesn't start from the top and it goes down. You have to create, and that's what we did. We put down a system where the Ora is already a functional monetary system inside Orania. You can't go and do the flashy things first and declare it an independent monetary system. You have to build up that entire system and create something that's actually in use in Orania, that's working, that's being handled the right way by the Chamber of Commerce and so on. And we've done just that. We started that self-sufficiency from the bottom up,
right? And
we made it possible. We started circulating those notes for people to use. So the system is in place. Whatever you choose to do with it is already there and it's already working.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry. I've just got bunches of questions coming through here.
Fantastic.
Okay. Next one. Bruce Bastos has asked, Joost, what if a coloured Afrikaans-speaking Christian wants to move there?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Scott. It's one that we get a lot of times because there's also in the South African coloured community, there's a lot of discontent towards what's happening in South Africa regarding the ANC's rule and so on. We see that, and on a lot of levels we can actually connect. There's a lot of language and religion and so that might be on the same level. Orania specifically for Afrikaners and people who see themselves specifically as Afrikaners. And we would like to help people to embrace communities where they do something very similar to Orania for themselves. And help people to take responsibility of their own communities and do something very similar to Orania. And then, but to answer the question very, very straightforward, is that anybody can apply for citizenship in Orania, and it will be fairly evaluated as to how much they strive towards the Afrikaner ideal, they see themselves specifically as Afrikaners and so on. And then also another part of it that's not included inside, let's say, the legal requirements or the official process is the community. You have to accept the community, and the community have to accept you, and that responsibility is on yourself, and that's on the community. That's not a legal process. That is that is the stage of acceptance and respect and so on. So that would also be something that a person would have to take responsibility for themselves. The legal process of applying to live in Orania is one thing, and then the community is another.
Right. Now I've got two guys who've written very, very similar questions, and they're very relevant questions. So let's just have a look at those. Where are they? Okay, I might get back to those. Well, I'll tell you what it's about. They wanted to know what happens if the ANC government, through expropriation without compensation. Yeah, here we go. Erica through Colleen Rue asked, are you worried that land expropriation without compensation may affect your land? And Property Power asks, Irani is built on agricultural land. What will happen if the ANC take the land without compensation?
Yeah, Scott, let me just say that the abrupt communism of such a movement of expropriation people's property without compensation, it's absurd and it's dangerous. And it's also a very uncertain time in South Africa because the ANC is pushing for that populist agenda of doing things like that.
Yes.
Whereas it's not solving any problems, it's not helping anybody. It's multiple surveys found that it's not actually even what people want. They don't want land. They want, they want monetary resources and money and so on. They don't want the land. But if the incompetence of the ANC enough, let's just say this. Expropriation without compensation is an uncertain and dangerous thing for everybody in South Africa, and I think everybody is equally worried of how it's going to play out. We are not sure. But we must think forward, and I think that one of the important things is the fact that Orania is communal land. It is in the regulations it's stippled out that communal land may not be expropriated, in the ANC's words, not ours. So that is the first thing, and the second thing is also that Orania is not the most the kind of land that people would want most. They would maybe want the riches of the vineyards in the Cape, or maybe rich Gulf estates or something. Orania is an arid and dry place, and it's hard to live here in terms of the climate and so on. So that's the second thing. The third thing is that it would be very symbolic to try and take our land in Orania. It would be to slap Afrikaners around the country and around the world in their faces and make a very, very political statement. And I don't think that the ANC should try something like that or do something like that. It would not be a good idea to be so openly politically challenging and deny Afrikaners the living right in a place like Orania. We're not bothering anybody. We're out of we moved away from the place that we lived in South Africa to a place that we want to call our own, and it would be very much a political slap. And I think a lot of the international community would very, very starkly respond to something like that, and also on a local level. Afrikaners around the country would be very, very unhappy with the ANC trying something like that.
There would be a riot, that's for sure. Now, Kubus Neyman says, as a retired civil engineer, will I be there, or will there be an opportunity for me to start a consultancy company?
The great thing about the internet is that you have more and more opportunities to live in a place like Orania and consult people in the cities around South Africa or even around the world. And we are actually going to have a conversation locally with a guy that does just that and enable people through his app, the Conrati app, to do consulting work, engineering and other lines as well internationally, while working, while sitting in Iranian. It's a guy who used to live here that launched this app. And there's more and more opportunities on the online world to do consulting work. Yes, I think there might also be opportunities in Orania, but there's also a lot of opportunities outside of Orania that you can do consulting and actually bring people's money from the outside into the Orania economy.
Right. Now, look, I just want to just take that point you said about the internet and doing stuff online one step further. Because of the, I guess, the romantic I always see it as a romantic sort of positioning of Orania. You know, it's this incredible little town, you know, battling against you know, evil forces, which are the gangster state. And I just think that there's a huge opportunity in Orania to have products made in Orania, you know, which can then be sold through the internet. I think that's got a huge potential.
Yeah, Scott, you're 100% correct, and that's the way our entrepreneurs need to start thinking now. You know, as I said earlier, the economical changes of the COVID pandemic and the lockdown regulations which the state forced down on us changed the economy forever. We need to accept that things will change, that the businesses that we run and the ways that we ran them, it cannot continue. It cannot continue. There was going to be different needs from consumers, and we need to tap into that. We need to shorten the cycle of the consumer from the producer to the consumer, and we need to tap into that and create jobs in Orania by producing stuff that other people want and delivering it directly to their doors. That's more and more the way that entrepreneurs should start thinking if they want to survive what is happening to our economy now because of this lockdown regulations of the ANC. So if we want to be more and more self-sufficient, that's the way that we need to be thinking.
Right. Okay, now I've got a question here from Erica. She says, I'm not South African born, but Afrikaans was my first language. I learnt as a refugee. My mum was Flemish. Can I live in Orania and help them grow hemp, etc.?
Yeah, interesting. We have a lot of Flemish supporters as well, actually visiting us and so on. We've got a good relationship with the Flemish as well. Scott, I think that something that might happen is that we might get a lot of these type of questions because, you know, a lot of people want to move here and they want to come and help Orania build out to the city and more that it wants to be, you know. So we're going to get a lot of these types of questions, and I think to answer all of them, you know, anybody can apply to become a citizen of Orania. You need, everybody is the process is open for everybody to apply. But in the end, you must fully identify as an Afrikaner and so on. So I'm not going to try and individually answer everybody's specific case, although I would love to do so if I had more time. But it can be very complex, and one person might say, what about this or what about that? The application process is open for everybody. And we want people to come and kind of help and build Urania out. But the easiest way is just to send an email to that address that we sent you guys.
Right. Now, Property Power asks, those plots in Irania, is it your own title or share block ownership?
Yeah, so interesting. We have different systems of land ownership inside Orania. We have your normal system of carton transport, where you fully become the title holder of the land, and then we have other where you buy into as a shareholder inside a company. When we started Orania, the business people and also the people that knows a bit more about law advised that this might be the best vehicle for Orania to create its first system, and that was a company when you buy in a shareholder, and that also gives you a vote into the running of the company and so on. So there's a lot of different ways that land ownership in Orania actually works, and people have the freedom to choose in the greater Orania, because the greater Orania is made out of different systems, and you can choose where you buy into in which way. So a lot of opportunities, and people must come and have a look at the different options.
Right. Now, okay, Scale Model has asked, I can do remote PC repairs, etc. Scale, the best thing to do is to just contact that lady or that person behind that email address and talk to them, because you know, they'll be able to give you a very specific answer to that. Alan Rados asked, do you have 5G towers planned for Orania?
Not at this stage that I'm aware of. I don't know about any 5G towers being erected here. Scott. So no, we have normal LTE coverage here for all cell phone networks, but I don't know about any 5G towers being erected.
I have to say, your internet is fantastic. I've had several interviews with people where they're dropping out the whole time, and Orania obviously has really good internet connection, which is great. Okay, Lawrence, I don't think that's really a question. He says, is Irani run by Freemasons? I don't even worry about that one.
Well, actually, Scott, let me answer that, because that is more becoming a narrative that I don't know where it comes from, but a lot of people is asking that. So I'd actually love to, to have the opportunity to answer him. No, we aren't run by Freemasons. Luckily, we're not run by Freemasons. And there's a lot of people spreading rumors that we are. But most people in Iranian believe that our strong Christian faith is incompatible with that. And we don't want to be run in terms of people that affiliate with those types of organizations to a large extent. So no, there is rumors going around, but that's not true.
Okay. Afrikaner Treffers asks, what is Irania's connection with AfriForum?
We have a good relationship with AfriForum. We are, they actually have built some buildings in Orania. They've invested in some projects inside Orania. Orania is still being run by Iranians, elected by other Iranians, and we service ourselves in those terms. But we do have a good relationship with multiple Afrikaner organizations around South Africa. So we keep a good relationship with them, and we believe they're working towards the same goal as we are in a different manner.
Right. Gav Gap has asked, please could you ask, how does the weakening rand affect your currency? Well, I think we've covered that, so we'll leave that one alone. Where are we? Gordon Blues. Irania is an obvious embarrassment to the ANC as it shows up their incompetence. Is there danger they will try to use EWC to take Irania out? I think we've talked about that, but do you want to say anything about that question?
No, I just wanted to say, from the beginning, Orania took up the position of not being a hostile community. We took the position of, we want to be friendly neighbors with a lot of the role players in South Africa. And as for that, almost all the presidents of South Africa since the formation of the new South Africa has visited Orania. Nelson Mandela was here. Zuma was here. We always joked and said, even the next president of South Africa, Julius Malema, was here. So presidents came here and they spoke to the leadership of the town and exchanged ideas and so on. And we tried to keep that relationship, steady and be able to have a good eye-to-eye conversation with those people in power in South Africa, and liaise with government on all three levels, both all provincial, national, and also municipal, and keep that relationship open. If we have certain things that we are doing and looking into, we want to communicate. I mean, you speak to your friends and your opponents. You don't only speak to your friends. You also speak to your opponents and make it clear what you're doing and why you're doing it. And you don't do things behind closed curtains and try to catch people out. You are clear to both friend and opponent what you are doing and why you're doing it. And so you have respect from your friends and also your opponents. You have respect, and we hope to achieve that. A lot of times we have very, very, very weird policies from the government, which we don't always seem to understand, but for the rest we try to keep a good and respectable distance and also relationship.
Right. Now, I just want to quickly address those watching in the side chat. Guys, remember to subscribe to be kept informed and ring the bell for the updates. And we've still got about 10 questions to go through here. And I'm going to shut off the questions shortly because it's getting late. It's well after 10 p.m. Your time there, Joost. Okay, so Eric has asked, are there franchises in Irania such as Spar, KFC, Edgar's, Pick n Pay, etc.?
No, the only franchise that we have here is OK Grocer. But for the rest, Iranians take a pride in doing things their own way, So you would get the Orania version of fried chicken. It's not part of a franchise, it's just the Orania ways of doing it. We like to take, we have Orania coffee and all kind of things like that. So no, we don't have major franchises. And as I said, not even our banking system. We have our own bank. We don't have a commercial bank. So the short answer is actually no. We don't have a lot of franchises.
Now, how has the ban on hot food hit the Iranian economy? Because that's got to be quite a big part of your business area.
Scott, let's just say people are innovating.
Okay, I get it. Okay. Okay, Carl Boerte asks, Joost, how is the market for wireless communications in Orania?
For what communications?
Wireless.
Oh, wireless communication.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we have wireless setups and 2 internet service providers working in Orania. I think there's a lot of opportunity, and even if that opportunity is not already here, I think there's a lot of ways to create more and more opportunities for yourself by putting down infrastructure and things, because the internet, I think, is going to play a larger and larger role in the economy post-COVID. Right. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to create opportunity, if I can put it that way.
Right. Okay, next question. Armand Irvi has asked, in a South African civil war, aren't Irani going to be a target?
That's a tough question. I don't know, because we don't know of all the political turmoil and things that's in the country. But there's a lot of reasons why we won't be a target. The first is we're very far from everybody, so I have to be quite dedicated to travel really far to just get here to try and hurt us. And distance is our friend, I think, in a lot of cases. And as I also previously said with with the land expropriation things, I don't think Orania is really a focus area for anybody. They've got bigger problems to worry and bigger fish to fry. Orania is just continuing on its own, and I think I don't think people should get that idea to make us a target. We won't be a good target for anybody, I think.
Right. Gordon Blues asks, this is a fun question. Does Joost ever feel like he is playing S-I-M for Mary City?
No, actually, yeah. Well, yeah, because you in SimCity you have the opportunity to create something entirely new, something not bound by the rules of the politicians or the market powers and so on. We're obviously not entirely free, but to a large extent we can. The only thing that limits us is our imagination, our will to succeed, and our capability to make it happen. So yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities. You can only be stopped by your own creativity. You can only be bolstered by that. It's a time of innovation, a time of new ideas, of new ways of constructing houses, of new ways of constructing an economy, and all those things need to be thought out and planned, and it's really, really great to be part of something like that.
Great.
Even with the challenges that come with it.
Great. Another question here. Do you need a metal fabrication and CNC machining company to come and join you?
Yeah, we always need people in those line of work. Creating things is very, very important. So we do need that, and so come visit us, do your market research, and let's see how we can make that happen.
Right. And Jean Rousseau says, Joost, does Aronia have schools, primary and high school?
Yeah, we've got 2 schools. Both of them are both primary and high school. And I must say, Orania children are performing really well academically. We're seeing at university level, the children that went through the schooling system here is doing really well. Lots of children going out of Orania to go and study. Lots of them performing well at the institutions of universities, serving on student councils, performing very well in sports, performing very well in student politics, as you might figure, and all just playing a major role in those institutions. Some of them going to learn trades, coming back and plowing that skills back into the community. And also on a local level, there's children from our schools. We've got kids from our schools playing rugby tournaments in America, obviously pre-COVID. And actually in Texas, one of our schools won a international youth sevens rugby league and actually came home as the champions of that league. And the second year they were in second place. Sports all over the world. And also we've got children with our traditional dancing that's going, I'm not sure to which country, somewhere in Europe to go and can show that. So very, very proud of our school kids performing really well and reaching the top point of their potential.
Fantastic. Well, you've got plans for a university at Orania, haven't you?
As many things, we are forced to think in that way, Scott, because Afrikaans and Afrikaners are just not welcome at the tertiary levels anymore. And if people have small kids, they need to start thinking now, where do you want your kids to study in 20 years?
Right.
Where do you want them to receive their tertiary education? And you need to plow into Iranian in order to make that happen quickly.
Right. Now, Erica says, Property Power says, what will happen with Irania when secession is successful? I think what he's talking about, you've heard of the ULA, haven't you? I think Irania falls into the area that they're wanting to secede from the rest of South Africa. How would that impact Irania?
Well, we'll have to look and wait and see, Scott. But I still firmly believe in self-determination from the bottom up. And I think because Irania is currently doing that, not much will change for us. We will still be, to a large extent, be able to look after ourselves.
Right. Okay, we've nearly reached the end of the questions at last. I do apologize, but obviously a lot of people have got questions to ask. Chris Norvey asks, what is the classical music culture in Irania? Are the orchestras or chamber music groups and teachers?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. There's a big love for music and creating music here. Also a bit of rock, as you might figure. Some people are very good on electric guitars and so on. But I think there's a big love for classical music, but there's definitely space or opportunity to expand it in Orania, to better the quality of locally produced classic music. And I would really love to see that happen.
Right. Okay, in the side chat, guys, I'm going to shut off questions now because it's getting up to 10:30 p.m. and I'm sure that Joost has got stuff he has to do. So I just want to thank him so much for being on our live stream tonight. Now, Ronnie Snyder says, what do the Iranians do for entertainment for both adults and teenagers?
No, we know how to have fun, Scott, let me tell you that. To be honest, we like our weekends. We like to go out. We've got the beautiful Orange River on our doorstep, so there's a lot of water-related sports going on. Fishing, there's hunting in the bigger region. We like to dance. Afrikaners like to dance very much. So good music. We've got 2 breweries in Orania producing locally made beer, which goes very well after a day of hard work. We've got distilleries in Orania. We've got a very active sport culture, from rugby and athletics to more traditional sports and shooting sports and so on. So there's a lot of those kinds of things. But Iranians know how to have fun. We call it an opskop in Afrikaans. We know how to
kick your heels up.
And kick your heels up. We know how to do that because we work hard. I think that's maybe the reason. We work hard, so we know that all of the time that we have off is really valuable, and we need to use it to its fullest potential.
Right. Now, Fan Pretorius has asked, I heard some reports of whites living in poverty in Orania, and then he asks why.
Well, the reality is that there's a lot of people coming to Orania that is coming from very, very bad circumstances. And Orania is their last and final hope. And they come here because they have no other options. And the last thing that they do is they hitch a lift to Orania, or they get on a bus with their last money to come here. And then they're Orania's problem. Now, obviously, we don't see them as a problem. We see them as somebody that we want to help. So what do we do for these people? No, rather, let me ask, what don't we do for these people? We don't keep people going artificially. We're not a socialist community. We don't just hand out food parcels left and right and give free living accommodations. We give people an opportunity to be helped, but they must help themselves. We give people immediate access to work, and that means you must be willing to work hard and even, physical labor, if that's what's asked of you in terms of what's available on the job market. But there is social housing that is well under market value. And we have different schemes in order to empower people to buy land, for very, very cheap. If you're under a certain income level, to make it possible for people to buy land, become a homeowner, and also for people that's living in Orania for some time, for I think 3 or 4 years, that is under a certain income level, we give interest-free loans for those people that has been playing a role in our economy and in Orania for quite a while. There's interest-free loans from the bank for those people because we saw that they are dedicated to Iranians. We saw that they played a role. They are stable at work and they've been living here for some time. And that makes it possible for people to pay off both the loans on their land and on their house that they built. The monthly payments is almost the same as leasing a place. So we empower people to become homeowners and to get trained at our local trade training facility and empower them in that way.
Right. Now we've got 3 questions to go, just so you know where.
Great.
U2 has asked, does Orania cooperate with the Afrikaner bond or the Broederbond?
We don't cooperate with them in any official way that I know of. We know some of the things that they do and say, but there's no cooperation.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, to some extent, we might strive towards the same things. I think, but other than that, there's no cooperation.
Right. Rob Churchill has asked, what farming activities are currently taking place in Orania?
Yeah, primarily planting. So we've got wheat and maize that's very popular to plant here. Also lucerne. So a lot of planting, sowing, going on. Intensive farming, very, very high level intensive farming. And then more and more people are looking towards, gardens, food producing, small scale food producing gardens, permaculture. Direct, small scale birds like chickens and so on, poultry, and creating permaculture systems that works on a local level to feed their families and so on. But the commercial farming, primarily wheat, maize, lucerne, it's the primary ones. Also a very, very active pecan nut industry going on in Orania. We've got about, I think, 16,000 pecan nut trees from different farmers that's been planted here. Great for the export market. A lot of those nuts going to the east. It's something that you can industrialize or mechanize to a large extent, pecan nut trees, the harvesting of pecan nut trees.
Right. And do you have any beekeepers there in Irani?
Yeah, on a very small scale, Scott. On a very small scale, we do have some small beeries and people that produce honey for on a small scale for themselves or other people in the community.
Yeah, I know a commercial beekeeper I spoke to just a few days ago on the live stream, and he's complaining about vandalism of his hives and a whole lot of other issues. He should perhaps have a chat to you guys, because he's got something like 2,000 hives.
Wow. Bees also play a very important role in the the production of almonds, because they need to go to the trees and carry the what do you call it? They need to go to the little flowers of almond trees, and they play a very big role with that.
Pollinate them.
Important. Yeah, that's the right word I was looking for, Scott.
Okay, the last question for you. Phew, it's been a long night, and we had that Yeah, that boring section in the middle with the president talking, what he does. Okay. Scale Model has asked, what's the nightlife like in Orania? Are there pubs and clubs?
Yeah, there actually are some pubs and clubs. As I said, we have there's this culture of our own distilleries and our own breweries as well. But just to refer back to what I previously said, we like to have a good dance. We like to relax a bit. So yeah, we do have some active nightlife and a lot of fun regarding that.
You know, I've got to tell you, Arania sounds like if I was in South Africa, Arania would be the place that I would be trying to move to. But I think because I'm very English, and my Afrikaans after 30 years out of South Africa is a bit shaky.
Well, you can always learn again, Scott. Now, let's just say this as well, Scott. And I think it's very relevant to say now because of the fact that we're coming to the end of the conversation. Orania's got a lot of positive things. It's great to live in the community with so much positive energy and a shared spirit and a shared way of doing things. But Orania's not there. Orania's got challenges. Orania's got some socio-economic challenges, people coming here looking for help. Orania is, we're not always 100% agreeing on everything. We're still part of a country that's in a lot of trouble. We have our challenges and we embrace them. Orania is not the heaven, but you have to work very hard here, but you are working towards something greater. You have to sacrifice a lot, but you're sacrificing for a bigger ideal. So that is what makes Orania great. Not the fact that it's without problems or without challenges, but because we face the challenges specifically because we know where we're going. And that's the great thing.
Fantastic. Well, I have to say that Orania is probably the only place in South Africa where you've got the adults in the room running the classroom. I mean, the rest of the country, it's just a joke. Right. Now, I just want to turn my attention quickly to the side chat and to those who are watching the video or the live stream right now. Thank you so much for being part of our live stream in the evening. To my moderators, thank you guys. You do a fantastic job. You certainly churn out those questions. My gosh, we've got dozens of those. So thank you guys for the great work you do. And finally, to our guest, Joost. Joost, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I've learned so much tonight about Orania. You know, it's always been this little romantic little town that you see. It's sort of, it's like an enigma. But I think now people who've watched this video understand a lot more about your town. And, you know, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's the showcase for what minority groups could do around South Africa. I know you made a statement just now. Is there something you'd like to say in closing to everybody, or are you happy with that?
Scott, well, I want to say thank you to you. Alternative media and alternative news sites gives Orania the opportunity to put our case before the public unbiased and without the negative inputs of the media and the pre-set up ideas that they have about Orania and the narrative that they want to create. So thank you for people like you putting in time and effort to make sure that people get a balanced view of a lot of things, but also of Orania. We are very thankful. Thank you for the opportunity to be on your show. It was really great. Thank you for all the people that asked questions. I hope that I answered you well and that you understand. And if you don't, feel very welcome to go and scroll through our Facebook page, Orania, or go to our website, www.orania.co.za. And you can also become members of the Orania movement. We have about 5,000 members that's not living in Orania that give help raise funds for Orania and so on. And you can join our movement, join our ideology. But thank you to you, Scott. Thank you for everybody watching. And come and visit Orania. We're looking forward to see you guys here.
Well, I've made this promise to my subscribers that once a part of South Africa secedes, I'm going to fly to that part of South Africa, because I think if I flew into Oliver Tambo, I'd be arrested before I got through the gate.
Yeah. We have some loyal followers of you in here, Scott, and a lot of people. I won't say their names, but role players in the community, playing important role in this time as well. That's very big fans of yours, and also a guy that asked me to shout out to him, Wayne from Canada. It's a supporter from Canada. Thank you, Wayne. Also for your support and also putting out the Iranian message.
Fantastic. And look, what I'll do in closing is I'll send you a link to this live stream, and feel free to put it into your Facebook page and to wherever else you want, just so that people can see what Irani is all about, because I think we covered a lot of ground tonight.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay. All right, guys, look, thank you once again for being here tonight. I'm going to turn off the live stream now. I have got one for tomorrow night, and don't forget Saturday night we're having a sing-along. We're going to have 3 top singers singing for us. It's going to be a very informal, fun evening on Saturday night. Now with that, I'm turning off the live stream. Please be safe and take care. Bye for now.